Have you ever wondered what lies beyond a door no one is supposed to find? What if time itself could trap you, showing every regret, every fear, every choice you have ever made? Step inside, if you dare. Rain fell in thin sheets over the small village. The wind carried a sharp chill that cut through the night. Lanterns flickered weakly along the narrow cobbled streets. A thick fog crept over the ground, hiding the roots of the ancient trees. Narin walked cautiously, his feet heavy with each step. The sound of water dripping from the eaves echoed like distant whispers. He shivered and pulled his coat tighter. Something felt off, though he could not name it. A faint glimmer caught his eye near the edge of the old abandoned temple. It was a small, ornate door, carved with symbols that seemed to pulse in the dim light. Narin approached slowly, heart hammering. The air around the door was colder than the rest of the night. He reached out and touched the handle. It was icy, almost alive under his fingers. A strange hum filled his ears. The fog swirled violently, wrapping around his legs like living chains. Narin stepped back. The door seemed to breathe. The carvings shifted subtly, forming images of people he did not recognize. They moved with pain in their faces, screaming silently. A gust of wind slammed the door open. A blinding light spilled out. Narin squinted, shielding his eyes. Then he saw it, a room that should not exist. The floor was made of shifting glass panels. Through them, he could see countless shadows moving beneath, trapped in silence. The walls were lined with clocks, all ticking in different rhythms. Each tick reverberated through his chest like a hammer. He stepped forward. The air smelled like old soil and burnt paper. A chill wrapped around his spine as he realized the room was enormous, though the temple had seemed small. Time felt different here, heavy and distorted. Narin reached out to touch one of the clocks. The second hand spun backward, faster than any normal time should allow. He felt a pull in his stomach, like being sucked into water. Voices whispered in the shadows. He could not understand them, yet they filled him with dread. Images flashed before his eyes, a young girl crying, a man running, a storm swallowing a village. Every image was familiar, yet impossible. His own reflection appeared in the glass floor, but it moved differently, as if it had a will of its own. A sudden cold hand gripped his shoulder. He spun around, but no one was there. The fog pressed against the edges of the door, threatening to pull him in. Every heartbeat echoed in his ears like a drum of warning. He noticed a smaller door inside the chamber, almost invisible. Symbols glowed faintly on it, familiar shapes from his dreams. Narin felt drawn toward it despite every instinct telling him to run. His steps were slow, measured, each one heavier than the last. The whispers grew louder, now voices he could almost understand. They spoke of regret, of moments lost, of choices that never should have been made. A cold sweat ran down his back. He realized he had stepped into something far beyond comprehension. The smaller door shivered, then opened just a fraction. A blinding light spilled through the crack, revealing a world frozen in time. People stood still mid-action, as if a hand had paused their lives. Narin reached out, trembling, toward a woman trapped in a silent scream. The air grew thick, almost solid. Time itself seemed to watch him, aware of his intrusion. His chest tightened as the walls seemed to close in. Shadows crawled along the edges of his vision, forming shapes that were almost human. A sudden pull from beneath made him stumble. The floor of shifting glass warped, and he caught glimpses of endless corridors beneath. Something was alive down there, moving slowly, patiently, waiting. Narin could not hear his own breathing, but the pounding of his heart filled the room. He realized he could not turn back the way he came. The main door had disappeared. The whispering shadows urged him forward. Every step toward the smaller door felt like a lifetime. The air shimmered, and Narin felt as if he was stretching, becoming both smaller and larger at once. The glowing symbols crawled over his skin. He tried to resist, but the pull was irresistible. Time itself seemed to bend around him. As he reached the threshold of the small door, a sudden image struck him with terror. His own face, older, scarred, trapped behind the door. It mouthed words he could not speak aloud. The whispers turned into screams that rattled the very walls of the chamber. Narin froze. He could see multiple versions of himself in the glass floor. Each one trapped, each one trying to warn him. A sense of panic gripped him, but his body would not respond. The door pulsed, as if aware of his hesitation. And then, just as he was about to step through, the shadows surged. They flowed around him like a tide, cold and suffocating. He could feel the weight of every second he had ever lived. Everything he was, and could have been, pressed against him, trying to pull him inside. Dash dash dash. Narin gasped for air, but the shadows pressed closer. They were not merely darkness, but shapes of regret and fear. Each shadow whispered memories he had long buried. He felt the weight of lost opportunities, failed promises, and hidden fears. The floor beneath him shivered violently. Glass panels cracked, showing glimpses of endless corridors and staircases that led nowhere. Some corridors were filled with screaming faces frozen in panic. Others were quiet, yet the silence carried a suffocating threat. The small door pulsed brighter, calling him forward. Narin's legs moved almost of their own accord, as if the chamber had taken control. Every step echoed like a drum of warning through the cold air. A sudden gust of wind slammed his ears, carrying a scent of burnt paper and wet soil. He reached the door. It was warmer than the rest of the chamber, almost alive. Symbols danced across its surface, forming fleeting images of places and people he knew and did not know. A deep hum resonated from the threshold, vibrating through his bones. Narin's hand hovered over the handle. He hesitated, every instinct screaming danger. The shadows recoiled slightly, as if anticipating his choice. He could feel the air thickening, becoming almost solid, resisting him. A whisper brushed against his ear. It sounded like his mother's voice, soft and pleading. "Do not enter," it said. Then another voice, harsher, more urgent, like a teacher long forgotten, "It is your only chance." Narin's heart twisted. He could not tell which path was safety and which was doom. Finally, he pushed the door. A blinding white light engulfed him, and the chamber fell away. He stumbled into a hallway suspended in nothingness. Time itself seemed suspended, there was no up, no down, only the endless corridor stretching beyond sight. Along the walls, clocks floated. Some ticked backward, some forward, some were broken, their hands spinning wildly. The sound of their ticking merged into a deafening roar, echoing inside his head. Narin pressed his hands to his ears, but the noise persisted. From the shadows, shapes emerged. They were human forms, yet distorted, elongated, and featureless. They moved with jerky, unnatural motions. When they stopped, they faced him, though no eyes were visible. A cold hand brushed his shoulder. He spun around, but nothing was there. Then he realized the corridor itself was alive, bending and shifting. The walls expanded and contracted as if breathing. The floor beneath him became glass again, showing versions of himself trapped in time. One figure reached up, mouthing his name. Another twisted in pain, frozen mid-scream. Narin stumbled backward, but there was no solid ground behind him. The corridor stretched endlessly, and every step forward felt heavier than the last. A distant door appeared, faint and small. It glowed with a soft blue light, different from the harsh white of the first door. Narin felt drawn toward it, though a voice screamed in his mind to stop. Each step closer, he could feel the pull of all the trapped versions of himself. They clawed at him, their silence screaming for release. The air thickened with the smell of earth and decay. Shadows from the previous chamber followed him, now merging with the hallway. They pressed against him, whispering memories and fears, memories that were not even his own. Faces appeared in the glass floor, silently begging, accusing, warning. He reached the glowing door. The hum was louder, vibrating in his chest. Symbols from the first door were carved into this one too, now forming a language he instinctively understood. It spoke of time, of choices, of consequences that stretched beyond life itself. Narin realized he was standing at the threshold of something infinite. The door shivered and opened slightly, revealing a scene frozen in a moment of perfect clarity. A village burned under a crimson sky, children frozen mid-laughter, elders frozen mid-step. Narin's own face appeared among them, calm and smiling, yet eyes filled with terror. The shadows surged forward, clawing at him with cold, invisible hands. A piercing shriek tore through the air, deafening him. Time itself seemed to bend around the screaming. Narin felt his body pulled in every direction at once. Past and future collided, he could see moments of his life happening all at once. Births, deaths, triumphs, regrets, all compressed into a single unbearable weight. The corridor twisted again, and he was falling. Not down, but through layers of reality itself. The shadows followed, merging with his own reflection in the glass floors. He saw hundreds of versions of himself, all reaching for the glowing door. All of them trapped in an eternal struggle with the passage of time. A sudden clarity struck him. The hidden door did not simply lead to another room. It was a bridge between times, a trap that fed on regret, fear, and hesitation. Every choice he had made and avoided now confronted him. A living Narin's hand trembled over the edge of the glowing door. The whispers of trapped souls filled his mind, pleading, accusing, warning. He felt the pull of time like a tidal wave, dragging him toward past regrets and future fears. Every heartbeat around him synchronized with the rhythm of the infinite. He closed his eyes, trying to find a single, solid thought amidst the chaos. Memories of his childhood, of laughter and warmth, flickered in his mind. Faces of people he loved and lost appeared, steadying him like anchors. A quiet resolve began to grow. The shadows recoiled slightly, sensing his focus. The screaming echoes of lost moments faded, replaced by a subtle hum. Narin took a deep breath, feeling the cold air of the chamber fill his lungs. He realized the door was not just a trap, it was a test, of courage, of will, of understanding time itself. With trembling fingers, he pushed fully through the glowing threshold. A searing light enveloped him, yet it was not painful. It felt like falling and flying at once, suspended between moments. The frozen landscapes, the trapped figures, the distorted corridors, all shifted and began to dissolve. Time stretched and bent, but Narin felt a clarity he had never known. He saw his own life as a series of threads, some broken, some tangled, some shining bright. He understood that every choice, every fear, every regret was part of the fabric, but none could fully define him. With that understanding, the shadows lost their hold. The corridor, the glass floor, the endless clocks, they all dissolved into mist. Narin felt himself descend softly onto solid ground. He opened his eyes and found himself outside the old temple. The rain had stopped. The village was quiet, peaceful, almost unreal in its stillness. The ornate door was gone. Only a faint shimmer remained where it had once been, like a memory in the air. Narin took a cautious step forward, feeling the cool earth beneath his feet. He realized he had returned, but he was not the same. Time no longer pressed upon him with weight. He could hear the subtle ticking of life in every living thing around him. The villagers moved as if nothing had changed, yet Narin saw every second as precious. He understood that life's moments, fleeting and fragile, were worth facing, not fleeing. A gust of wind brushed his cheek, carrying the scent of wet soil and leaves. He smiled, though his heart still carried the echo of what he had seen. The hidden door had vanished, but its lesson remained. Time was not an enemy, but a witness, and he had learned to walk alongside it. Narin turned toward the path leading back to his home. The village lights glimmered in the evening haze. Every shadow, every sound, every breath felt sharper, alive. He knew he could never forget the hidden door, nor the infinite corridor beyond it. But he also knew he could live, truly live, with each moment he was given. And as he walked into the night, the memory of the hidden door lingered, not as fear, but as understanding. He carried it within him, a silent reminder of courage, choice, and the fragile beauty of time. Dash dash dash.